If you have a low-end PC like straight-up Intel integrated graphics system and you want to get more FPS in all games in 2025, this is the guide for you. I will show you how to get more FPS and fix FPS drops and stutters on low-end PC or laptops in the best possible way by completely optimizing your Windows 10 or Windows 11 for gaming and performance. All of these methods are really simple and have been proven to provide up to 30% FPS improvement by optimizing the Windows and games like Fortnite, Valorant, Call of Duty, etc. for the optimal performance. The very first thing that you want to do is go down into the description of this video and download the low-end PC optimal pack. Once you have it downloaded, simply right-click and extract it using 7-zip, WinRAR or really whatever you want. Once the pack has been extracted, open it up. Then inside of it, you will find these 4 folders along with a text file. Starting off, go into the CPU folder and inside of here, we're gonna start with the Unbox CPU application. So right click on it and run it as administrator. Once this loads up, make sure that you're on the high performance and your system state is set to AC in case of your laptop so that it is plugged in. Secondly, make sure that the core parking index is set to 100%, that is unparked, because we don't want any of our cores to be parked or be in the idle state, and we want the best performance out of our CPU. So in order for that to work, you will need to set this to 100%. Once done, you can hit apply, then hit OK and close out of this. Then right click on the MSI utility and run it as administrator. Once it opens up, make sure that your graphics card is set to the MSI mode if it does say MSI under the supported modes. So for me, it does say MSI. I'm gonna just make sure to check this. As for the interrupt priority, make sure that it is set to undefined. Now I know that a lot of people set this to high, but that doesn't really work. So make sure that if you have set this to high, change it to undefined and then hit apply and close out of it. Go back into the pack and open up the Windows registry folder. Inside of here are a bunch of registry files that you need to apply if you want to get the most performance out of your Windows. It ranges from completely disabling the game bar via the game DVR, as well as exclusive full screen optimizations, some game optimizations, GPU priority optimizations, low to medium end optimizations for your system, and power optimizations to turn off power throttling and all of that good stuff. And all you need to do to apply these is simply double click on them, then hit yes and then hit OK. Just repeat the same thing with all of these optimizations and apply them one by one. You can also check what's inside of each of these files by simply right clicking on them and clicking on edit. And inside of here, you can see that it changes some of the alternate and the direct current settings as well as power throttling settings, and you can do the same for the rest of these. Once done, go back into the pack and open up the KBM folder. Now inside of here are a bunch of keyboard and mouse tweaks that will give you the lowest input delay for both your mouse and keyboard. Starting off, open up the mouse txt file, and inside of here you can see that we want to go to additional mouse settings and make sure that the slider is in the middle and disable enhanced pointer precision. In order to do that, open up the start menu and then search for mouse. Go ahead and open up the mouse settings. Inside of here, click on the additional mouse options, and once this opens up, go to the pointer options. Make sure that enhanced pointer precision is turned off or unchecked and that this slider is actually set to the 5th dot starting from 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So set it here, then hit apply, then hit OK. Now you can close out of this. For the highest hertz, disabling RGB, lowest bounce rate, pointer schemes and DPI, you will need to access your mouse software. In my case, I have a Red Dragon mouse, so I'm gonna go ahead and open up my mouse software. So this is my mouse software, and as you can see that I have set the RGB effect to off instead of any of the other options. The RGB introduces a bit of delay, so if you want your PC to look aesthetic, you can turn this on, but if you are a hardcore gamer and want every single bit of performance out of your mouse, then make sure to turn the RGB off. For the DPI, I highly recommend that you set it to 1600, since this is the one that works best for all of the mouses, or at least most of the ones that I have tested and others have tested as well. You can always change the sensitivity inside of the games, but for the DPI, make sure that it is set to 1600. As for the report rate or polling rate in some cases, make sure to set it to the highest one available. For me, by default, it was on 500 Hz. However, I have set it to 1000 Hz since that is the highest one available for me. Once done, you can click OK and apply these changes. Now that we are done with the mouse settings, let's move on to the keyboard settings. Now for this one, we will need to once again open up the keyboard settings. So go down to your start menu and search for keyboard, then open it up. Inside of here, make sure that the repeat delay is set to short and the repeat rate is set to fast. Once done, hit apply and then hit OK. As for setting the highest hertz or report rate and disabling RGB, you will need to once again access your keyboard software. If your keyboard does not come with a software, then you can skip these steps, but if it does come with a software, open up the software, go to the lighting settings and make sure that the model is set to off instead of the other options. Once again, if you want your setup to look aesthetic, you can turn this off while gaming or just keep this on. It's really a personal preference, but it does introduce a little bit of input delay in your keyboard key presses, so keep that in mind. Once done, you can close out of this and you can delete the software afterwards if you don't really need it. Then filter keys in Windows settings is another setting that you want to disable. To access these, go down to your start menu and search for filter keys. Go ahead and open these up, and inside of here, make sure that the use filter keys is turned off. And that's basically it. Now we can move on to some of the registry settings for the keyboard and mouse. Inside of here, disable driver searching will make sure that the Windows is not searching for keyboard and mouse drivers while updating. Since most of those drivers are not really compatible with your hardware anyways, so it is essential that you go ahead and disable this. So simply double click on it, then hit yes and then hit OK. For the disable prefetch, this is going to make sure that the prefetch or the superfetch is disabled. Temporary files don't build up in the background. For the disable startup delay, it sets the startup delay in milliseconds to 0, making sure that everything starts up or starts working as quickly as possible. For the hover time, this is basically the time it takes for your mouse to hover over things to show display, so we're gonna be reducing that. For the keyboard queue size, this is one of the most important settings if you want to reduce the input delay for your keyboard as well as your mouse. I have explained both of these settings in quite a detail in one of my previous videos, so I'm not gonna go that much into detail. However, I have provided you with the best values that you should be applying for both keyboard as well as your mouse, so make sure that you apply both of these by double clicking on them, then hit yes, then hit OK. As for the menu show delay, this is basically the time it takes to right click and showing up this menu. For the mouse fix, this is one of the most popular mouse tweaks that have been out there for years, and a lot of pros as well as other people have been using it to fix the mouse acceleration. You can also right click on it and then click on edit to check what's inside of here, and I'm sure that all of you have seen this tweak somewhere in the past. So double click and then hit yes and then hit OK. For the mouse queue size, it's once again the same as keyboard queue size, and I have given you guys the value of 30 or 1E, which is the best one in my opinion. So simply double click, then hit yes and then hit OK. Going back into the pack, go ahead and open up the telemetry, and inside of here I have given you guys the O&O Shutup 10. This is a software that is built to reduce the telemetry in the background and disable these useless services that keep spying on you. So simply right click on it and then run it as administrator. So once this opens up, you can see that there are a bunch of privacy as well as other activity history, app privacy, and a bunch of more security and other settings that you can disable from here. And it also gives you guys the recommendations whether disabling a setting is recommended or limited or no. So what you need to do here is go into the actions and then click on apply only the recommended settings. If it gives you an error, simply click on OK, and once you have done that, you can go ahead and restart your computer to make sure that all of these changes are applied properly. You can also export your own settings so you can use these on other computers, or if you want to reference them in the future. You can also click on each individual setting to let you know what it actually does. For example, disabling the sharing of handwritten data. This setting is a Windows policy. This means that it is necessarily changes the setting and thus can no longer be changed via the unusual way. But once you have disabled all of these settings that are recommended, simply close out of it, and then it will say that you want to close the O&O Shutup. Settings may possibly revert to the previous state following the Windows update. After updates, run it again, and that's it. Simply hit yes. Now we will be restarting at the end. So simply hit close, go back into the pack, and then open up the services to disable text. And these are all of the services that are completely useless and are no longer required by Windows. So we're gonna be going ahead and disabling all of these. You can find these in both Windows 10 as well as Windows 11, so just follow along with me. So to disable these services, go down to your start menu and search for services. Then go ahead and open it up. Inside of here, the first one that you want to disable is the Windows search. Now don't worry, it's not going to disable any of these search features. It only disables the overall Windows search that provides content indexing. So right click on it, then click on properties. If it's running, click on stop and then let the Windows stop it. Then set the startup type to manual or disabled. In my case, I'm gonna set it to manual in case you want to use this, but I also do recommend setting it to disable if you want that. Then hit apply and then hit OK. Moving on to all Xbox services. If you don't use the Xbox app, then disabling all of these services should be fine. Simply scroll down or click anywhere here and then press the X key to go to the Xbox services. Then right click on them, click on properties, once again stop, and then set the startup type to disabled, hit apply and then hit OK. Now do the same thing for all 4 of these services. Once done, let's move on to the all Hyper-V services. Now these are the hyper-virtualization services, so some of them might be required if you're using virtual machines, such as me. Going into the Edge section, you can see that there are a bunch of Hyper-V services, but I have set most of these to manual since I do use virtual machines, so I don't want to mess all of that up. But in your case, if you don't use the virtual machines, simply right click, go to properties and set the startup type to disabled. So moving on to the Microsoft SMS router services, go ahead and find it with the Microsoft Windows SMS router services. Right click, click on properties and then set it to disabled. After that, we have the diagnostic tracking services, then we have the fax services, the DMW app use services, as well as all of the sensor services in case you don't use any of the sensors. You can see that we have the sensor data service, the sensor monitoring services, and the sensor service. For me, I have set all of these to manual. In case you do use a sensor, you can set them to manual so that the Windows does not boot them up automatically other than when you need them. As for the fax services, I don't think that anyone uses fax anymore, so I'm gonna right click, click on properties and set it to disabled. For the DMW app use services, this is basically the device management wireless application protocol. You can go ahead and set this to disabled as well and then hit OK. So those are pretty much all of the services that we need to disable. Once done, you can simply go ahead and delete this optimization pack and that's it. Then moving on to some of the Windows settings, simply go ahead and open up your settings, and inside of here simply go ahead and open up the privacy and then scroll down until you can find the background apps. Simply go ahead and shut them off. Once done, go back into the home, go inside of the gaming, make sure that the game bar is turned off and the game mode is turned on. Also go inside of the graphics settings and you should have the option for hardware scheduling. If your PC does support it, simply go ahead and turn that on. For the app preferences, simply go ahead and set it to desktop app, click on browse, then browse the exe file of the games that you play, and once you have the exe file selected, click on add and it should be something like this. Then click on them, click on option, go ahead and set it to high performance, hit save. Go back to home and inside of here go inside of the system and then simply go ahead inside of the notifications and actions. Make sure that all of the actions as well as notifications are turned off. Going back to display, make sure that the scale and layout is set to 100% because for some reason if you change it to anything other than 100%, Windows causes a lot of input latency. Going back to home once again and inside of here go inside of the search, make sure that this is set to off and all of the search and history settings are turned off as well as clear any device search history. But now that you are done here, go ahead and check out this video if you want to unlock the full potential of your PC for gaming.